Ladies and gentlemen, it is another Thursday, which means this is another episode of InfoSec Unplugged. I'm mumbling and stumbling on my words a little bit, but that's okay. We're just gonna applause through that and pretend like that didn't happen. So, welcome everybody to InfoSec Unplugged, which is my weekly live stream podcast where I get to interview some of the great people in our community, in our field, doing some great work. Just whether it's through the InfoSec stuff they do, the content they create, or some of the things that they're doing in the community. And this guest is no different from anybody else. He is a security consultant, and he is also I'm going to say big time YouTuber. I'm going to get him nervous over here before I bring him on the show. But he's a big time YouTuber, certainly bigger than me. But we're going to talk to him about, his journey, what he does in the community, and also how he creates YouTube stuff, and see if he can share some tips with us as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, everybody watching, please welcome my guest, Patrick Gorman, a.k.a. InfoSec Pat. Let me bring this up here and bring him on here. How you doing, sir?
Hey, what's up? How you doing? Good. Thanks.
No, thank you for joining. Like I said, I'm, super excited. Like I said, I think you reached out to me a while back and was like, hey, I'd love to get you on, get on the show. And I'm like, say less. So I'm super glad you could be here today. But for those who aren't familiar with you, why don't you go ahead and give yourself, give a brief introduction into who you are.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. So if you guys don't know, my name is Patrick, and I also go by the name of InfoSec Pat on the interwebs or on YouTube, on Instagram, across the social media world. And yeah, I just make YouTube videos. I work as a cybersecurity professional, and I just enjoy giving back to the community. And we'll get more into that, how I do that, what I do, whenever that comes across. So yeah.
All right, there you go. So like I said, so first of all, again, thanks for joining. I see you got all the certifications in the back, and I also see you got the Mr. Robot mask. I got mine with my Make America Think Again hat on there. But yeah, definitely digging the setup. So now why don't you talk about how you got into tech, or what drew you to tech, if you started somewhere else. Like, for example, I was an aircraft mechanic in the military, came out, tried my hand at a bunch of different things, had a knack for tech, but never thought of it as a career. So talk about how your origin story.
Yeah, it's a little unique. It's probably not like the typical, but I grew up in New York. So I grew up in the Northeast playing baseball, playing handball. I skateboarded my whole life. So pretty much doing that. And I used to always film and create videos, going skating and making skate videos. So this is when I was back home in New York. And I wanted to study multimedia design, but I always thought that was far-fetched. That was for the smart, nerdy kids, and I wasn't a nerd, and I'm still not a nerd. But like growing up, I always thought that was for like the gamers. And a fun fact, I never played a video game in my life. So that's another thing. So so that's, and then I came down to, I live in Florida now, and like a career for me and my whole family was like, okay, you have to, pick up a trade, right? So I worked as an electrician for like a year and a half with my uncle. And I knew really quick, like this was good. This was when I was like 17, 18 years old, and I was making like $20 an hour, which was pretty good back then. But man, like I was killing myself, drilling holes. I fell off a ladder. Like I got shocked, like so many things, and I was like, Uncle Joe, I love you, but this is not for me, So I went back to school to study multimedia design. And like about a year and a half into the course, like I was like, man, if I don't move out to like Cali or something like this, I'm not going to make money doing this, So I switched up my career to like information systems, not security yet, like information systems. And, I got like some of the certifications like A+, Network Plus, MCSC, CCNA, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what I did. This is how I got into the world of technology. And I thought it was very, very it was going to be very difficult for me because I didn't grow up with computers. I got my first computer at almost 16 years old, 17 years old, like, so I didn't have a computer as a kid, So yeah, that was pretty much my entry into the technology field. You want me to go on to the cyber side?
No, we're gonna jump to that in a second, but it's funny because I feel like you're telling my story to me, because that was pretty much the same thing. Like I didn't really have a computer until I was like a teenager, and like I said, and I remember I told the story at the time. I remember like my mom saying how expensive it was, and the last thing I wanted to do was break it. But yeah, when I always kind of tinkered around with stuff, but it wasn't quite tech. I did play video games, but I always tinkered around with stuff, messed around with stuff, try to figure out how to get certain things to work in a different way. And then I also felt like I wasn't smart enough, when it came about, because at the time, computer science was pretty much coding. And I definitely didn't want to do that. So I went into the service, was an aircraft mechanic, came out, couldn't get a job. I worked as an electrician for about 2 years. In Connecticut, you had to be registered with the state, and that time could go towards your license. The foreman, or the guy who was supposed to register me, wouldn't register me. So I tried to switch to low voltage after I fell off of a ladder. It was like an extension ladder, and I fell because they weren't holding it properly. And once I realized I could get up and walk, I walked off the job site right then and there. And then I'd moved to low voltage, and I was doing like alarm systems and like some of the very first smart homes that was like everything was run through like one remote control. And I tried to get registered there, and the guy told me, why would I do that when I can continue to pay you at this, $10 an hour that I'm paying you? So it was like, okay, I'm not going to have anybody control my career progression. And I went home, had a long talk with my wife, and she was like, what do you want to do? And that was, for me, I was like, well, I'm interested in tech, but I just don't know if I should go back to school for it or whatever. That's how I started discovering certification. So I worked my way up from A+, Net+, Security+, then a bunch of Microsoft stuff. And then I transitioned over to cybersecurity after. So, like I said, when you were saying that, I'm like, man, maybe it's a Northeast thing that was like, trying to find a trade. If you're not going to college, you have to find a trade. So it's interesting that you brought that up. But now you talk about, you did that, you made the transition into tech. So now what led you to make that transition into cybersecurity?
Yeah, so that's really interesting too. So this might be redundant, so sorry for the folks that have watched this, but I grew up with a lot of sneakers. Still have a lot of shoes, sneakers, like, Jordans, Yeezys, Uptowns, 95s, 97s, whole bunch of sneakers. I have like 300 pairs of sneakers. But I would like flip them, I would like buy them, sit on them for like a month, sell them on eBay. If I bought the 11s, for an example, for like whatever, 190, now they're like 210. Yeah. I'll sit on them, sell them for $300-$400, So that's what I was doing as a side hustle for a minute. You know what I mean? So at one time, like, I went into my PayPal account, and I was like in sophomore, almost junior in undergrad, and I got my PayPal hacked. So I was like, damn. So I'm like, what happened to my money? It was like $900. So I'm like, I didn't know where it went. So I contacted PayPal and all that. I got my money back, but that's what really intrigued me. I'm like, I don't know what this is called, but like, you can steal and get paid. You know what I mean? Like, you can rob. Like, right. So that's when I was like, whoa, this is interesting. Like, I went to my counselor and I was like, I want to switch up careers. Like, I don't know what that is, hacking or whatever. I don't know if that's legal, but is that like a career? And they said, yeah, it's information system security. And that's what I transitioned to. And then that's what really sparked my interest in cyber. And then I never really did this whole CTF thing. Back then I was doing it on real stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I was just doing it. Just learning backtrack R3 back then, and just doing logic bombs. I didn't know what I was doing. Just setting things up, blowing stuff up, and DDoSing stuff, and like doing stuff that I didn't even know what I was doing, to be honest.
Mhm.
So that's what really intrigued. And I started getting some certs. Like back then was like the Security Plus, and then the CEH, CHFI, ECSA, LPT, and then like the rest of the ones, SSCP, CISSP, and all those fun stuff. And then I just transitioned to cyber, and here we are today.
Nice. For one, yeah, that's definitely a Northeast thing with the flipping of the sneakers. Every but it's interesting that basically you found your interest into it after an incident or a security incident that happened with you.
Mm-hmm.
That mine, like I said, I didn't get hit personally. I was working at a school system, and there was a young kid who basically just kept doing things to bypass bypass the security settings that we set. So he did something. He was looking at stuff he wasn't supposed to be looking at. We revoked his access. I'm walking through the school one day. I look over, and he's on the computer in the lab, and I'm like, how? I literally just turned off his access for like a week. And he did the sticky keys trick where you could boot up the computer, the operating system, bring up the command prompt, and change all the settings and give yourself admin access. So I was like, when I saw that, I was like, huh, okay. And then and then started looking at some other things that he was doing, and it was like, all right. And then I started looking at vulnerability assessments and stuff, and then I stumbled across pen testing, and I was like, oh, this is legal and you can actually do this for a living. Okay. So now I fell down that rabbit hole. And I said my stuff was all, like I said, I did like the labs and all of that, and created different lab environments and practice there. And then the other thing he kept doing was, after a while, he kept DDoSing the school for like 6 months straight, like every day. Right. And you could never prove it. They could never prove it was him because he was doing it from his cell phone. But every day around lunchtime, whole network would go down for about 15 minutes. And then I kind of got an idea it was him, because it was like, okay, just bring him over here for one day. Let me talk to him one day. And I'm talking to him, whatever, and waiting for that time. And sure enough, every day was like around the same time. While I was talking to him, nothing happened. But as soon as we separated, network goes down. So I'm like, okay, it's got to be him. And then a couple months later, we get a call from the FBI, and he was involved. This is back when they were doing like the Lizard Squad with so now now they're filling this in with all of this, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I definitely got to get into this field. So
That's
yeah, that was some fun times back then. But yeah, like I said, so now you've done that. Like I said, you've gotten the certs. You put in the work to get the certifications. Like I said, you can't see, mine are actually above here, but you listed off a bunch of them. You said the CEH, CHFI. I see you have a offensive security one behind you, and then I see the CISSP back there. Like I said, I think the only one I don't have in that bunch is the OSCP one, because like I said, I failed that one. I wrote a blog piece about it, but after a while it was like, and then I ended up getting the G pen and the GWAP from SANS.
I want to do the G pen, but it's like a couple of G's, right? It's expensive.
Yeah. I find someone to pay for it, or make sure you get it reimbursed.
Yeah.
I would never shout out to SANS, but that's
exactly.
That's a lot of money to be forced over.
Yeah, it's definitely one I would like to get, along with the PMPT. And there's a few that I want to do, like the CYSA Plus, Pen Test Plus as well, just because some more defensive stuff and understand more of the SOC. And the reason being is because I get a lot of questions, more of the entry level. Everyone, and like I conveyed to people, like, we all get into this field differently, right? Usually, normally, you do sysad, help desk, sysadmin, network admin, maybe a SOC analyst, and then you get into offensive security if that's your goal, or GRC, or whatever you want to get into. So, I always recommend maybe getting a CYSA Plus. And I'm like, you know what? Like I should do that because it would be it would be something good to have, understand more of the blue teaming side. Um, like I understand it pretty well. I work with a lot of tools, Splunk, Logarithm,
Yeah.
Defender, Sentinel, a lot of defensive tools. But to have that like written in stone,
Yeah.
and that's to stay on a certification topic for a second. That's the reason why I took so many, because my thing is, when I was in like the sysadmin world, network admin, VMware admin, if I'm going to study and do virtualization, why not go for my VCP DCV, right?
Right.
And that's the VMware Certified Professional Data Center Virtualization. If you folks don't know, like I have VCAP, I have VCP. That's when I got into the VMware world, Citrix certifications. Um, but yeah, that's always my thing. If I'm going to study it or if I'm going to learn it, it's like going 4 years without getting your degree, or going all the way to law school without taking your bar exam.
Yep.
That's the way I think about that. So it's like, why learn something and not be, reinforced for what you're learning? So
Yep.
that's
No,
uh,
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, when I was doing going the sysadmin route, that's what I did, right? I went, and so I got my A plus, network plus, security plus, but then I started going into, Microsoft admin work. So now I'm doing the MCSA or MCITP back when it was back
mhm.
then, getting certified in Windows 7 and Windows 10, and go, because again, my same concept. Well, I had same thing. It was like, if I'm gonna do it, I might as well be good at it and be certified in it. And then I
Mhm.
always looked at it from a standpoint of, like I said, I didn't go to college, so I was in a room full of people that had their bachelor's and master's degrees.
Mhm.
So I looked at it from a standpoint. I remember when I really started to grind, my director would talk to me and go, "Man, why are you going nonstop?" Because I did the flip approach with certifications. I got them to buy into the reimbursing people.
Mhm.
I took $300 and I paid for my cert and all the material. And as soon as I passed, they gave me the money, reimburse it, and I took that same $300 and did it every single
Yep.
time until I got all the certs I wanted to get. And I remember sitting in my director's office, and he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, the way I look at it is, if they should walk in here and say, 'Hey, we need to cut somebody,' you're going to look at it and go, 'Okay, well, we need to cut someone who on paper doesn't have the most experience.' Well, this person has their masters, this person's been here 20, 30 years, this person's been here with their degrees. I'm I would look at me like I was the weakest link. So now I'm going to make it difficult for you to make that decision. And I'm not going the college route. So I just kept grabbing all the certs I could. Um,
Mhm.
and when I moved into the cybersecurity field, it was the same concept. When I got the CEH, it was like, yeah, say what you want about the CEH, but this is what they're saying is, one of the things that they look for. So
Mhm.
okay, cool. I'll go get the CEH. I had an interest in forensics at the time, so I got a forensic certification. And I kept doing, I kept going there. And then I was working for another contractor, and they said, "Hey, we'll give out bonuses for those who can get their CISSP, because we need a certain amount of people who are certified in CISSP." So I was like, "Oh, okay." It was on my list anyway. I might as well go ahead and do it, right? And I went ahead and did that and grabbed my got my bonus right before Christmas, and it was good for everybody. So I fully advocate for everyone to go for the certs and get as many as you can without burning yourself out. But with that being said, make sure you go to path that you want to go. Don't get a whole bunch of certifications that you're not going to need. um
Mhm.
and different advice with that, but we're going to get into that in a little bit, as far as helping other people. But now you work as a security consultant. Now, what does in your world, what is a security consultant? Because I know with pen testing is typically just someone who goes and does the pen test from different places. But sometimes different roles can have different meanings. So So go ahead and break down what your day-to-day is like.
Yeah. So in my day to day as a consultant, yeah, we can do some pen testing. We can do some vulnerability management and assessments. We can do implementing some blue team stuff, like do, look at different logs and, set up, Defender for cloud for one client. And, now we have this client doing this, and that. It all depends. Every day is different, right? Um, like, but a lot of my stuff is more on the offensive stuff, doing some pen testing, doing vulnerability management, doing phishing campaigns, social engineering, doing fun stuff like that. And physical security, now it's getting a little more into the physical security stuff. And I like that because I enjoy talking to folks. Trying to, I hate to use the word manipulate or, hack their psychology, but I guess that's a New York thing where a lot of them up there are good at that, manipulating people. But I don't do that because to be a scumbag or anything, but I just, I guess it's just in our nature to be manipulators. I don't know. My whole family is really good at it. So I'm going to keep it 100, man. So yeah. And, obviously I use it for good because once I'm able to manipulate the human element, I can say, okay, this is what we were able to hack, the psychological aspect and, prevent that by doing X, Y, Z. But yeah, like that's pretty much, a day-to-day.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, it's fine. I know, I totally understand that. It's funny that you mentioned it because again, I do miss the security consultant world because it was almost like a new challenge every assessment. That's one of the benefits to being, having that consultant job as opposed to being like an in-house security team. It was always a new client. And to your point, like I used to love the physical assessments because, yeah, I think everybody has that part of their brain where they walk by and go, they see something and go, man, I wonder what would happen if I did X, Y, Z. Those assessments, you actually get to try it. And to your point, there are some times where I felt like a scumbag in the past because, sometimes you're playing to people's kindness or their kindness is their weakness, right? Like I remember one assessment. I was working on an assessment on site, and the CTO, the security they had was better than some government facilities I've been to. And they literally were like, we don't need half of this crap, but we have the money, so we gotta spend it. So they had all of this stuff. I mean, you had to swipe a card to call the elevator and then swipe the card again to get certain floors. And they, like I said, there's no reason for it. But he just kept bragging and bragging and bragging. He was like, I bet you couldn't get in. I bet you couldn't get in. And then I'm like, all right, fine. So one day I come from the hotel and I find a box and I grab this box and I pretend like it's like the heaviest box ever. Because now what are you going to do? You see someone struggling with a box like they're about to tumble over. The first thing you're going to do is just like, you're going to open the door for them.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna, you walk right in. It's like, oh, here you go. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I got to get to the third floor. And they're like, oh, third floor. Sure. And they swipe their card and they put the third floor for you. And then you get up there and, during that time, they used to go out for smoke breaks, but rather than go to the designated smoking area, there was like a side door that everybody would go out. So I just waited for them to come out. And as soon as they came out for their smoke break, I just walked right in. And no one stopped me. No one said anything else. And I just sat there, me, my box, and my backpack. Right. And then the CTO walks in and he's like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, you said I couldn't get in. I'm just showing you that if I wanted, but to your point, it does make you, there are some times where I've done it and then like, you never want to get people in trouble, but then when they start reviewing certain things like, well, who'd you speak to? Who'd you socially engineer? And then you find out, oh man, that person got written up or that person got in trouble. And it's like, I feel horrible, but again, it kind of goes with the that's the name of the game sometimes. So but yeah, I said that's definitely something that I've had a lot of fun with, and if I could, I would probably go back to. But the one thing I didn't enjoy was like we were traveling a lot at that time.
Hmm.
I was hardly ever home, and
Hmm.
it's hard to kind of be in that field doing that day to day, and then not see your kids and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
So
Yeah, no, that's tough.
so but it had everything has its ups and downs. So all right, so we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play this quick ad break for NordVPN, and then I'm gonna also talk about the YNCD conference that's going on right now, for the youth out in the DC area, and then we're going to come back and talk more about what you're doing and how you're taking your experiences and helping other people with your YouTube channel. So we're going to go to that, and 3, 2, and 1.
Stuck at home? Make the most of the internet with NordVPN. As you're trying out new apps to save you from boredom, NordVPN will make sure that your data is always protected. And you can still travel, well, virtually, by connecting to VPN servers in almost 60 countries. Up for a new gaming challenge? Make sure that cyber threats don't get in your way. Feeling curious? Access the news from all over the world firsthand. Get the app now. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
All right, so thank you to the affiliate link this week, NordVPN. They are doing a promotion. So go check them out, and if you do get anything from Nord, we do get a little commission off of that. It does help to go back into the show to make sure we keep everything free and not doing a whole bunch of other things to get money. So all right, so Pat, so now you developed you've created this career for yourself. You're doing quite well for yourself. You made, you're making a career, you're doing some awesome things in the field, and now you decide that I'm going to take that and I'm going to create content. And now you have a YouTube channel, and like I said before, it is an awesome YouTube channel. I've been catching a lot of the videos and stuff from, honestly, I think almost a couple of years now, probably around 2020.
Yeah.
So congratulations on the success with that YouTube channel and everything. So why don't you go ahead and talk about what led you to down that path of becoming a content creator?
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. Cheers for that. Thanks for the support and all. So let me see, the end of 2019, just before the pandemic hit, me and a group of friends, we were studying for PCNSE, which is Palo Alto Certified System Security Administrator, whatever it is. So I would make videos, and I want to keep it real. Like it's still a struggle for me. You know what I mean? Like I don't, there's always room for improvement to make the videos. But back then I would just create a video. For an example, if we're going to set up static NAT, and we're going to learn about, site-to-site VPNs with this. So I would make a video and send it through Google Drive to the group of people in my WhatsApp. We use WhatsApp. And one day, if one guy in the group was like, Pat, like, why don't you just throw it on YouTube? Only us four will look at it. I mean, if you send it to me and these other three folks, but if you put it on YouTube, what if someone else has that same question? I'm like, dude, I don't even know how to use YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even know how to use YouTube. And I was YouTubing how to create a YouTube channel. And I was actually reaching out to folks. Like, I was watching other people like Network Chuck, IT Career Questions, which is Zach Hill, John Hammett. There was other people that I was just watching back then. And I was reaching out to these folks, and not so much John or Network Chuck, but like IT, Zach Hill and some other people, Hackersploit, some other people. I was like, I just have a question. Like, I don't want to do what you're doing, but I just want to understand, like, what kind of mic do I need? Or what kind of camera? Like, I don't have nothing. I have a laptop, So literally, like, if you look at some of the first videos, I just had my headset on, like talking to my headset. And I was using my phone for a lot of the like videos. Like I didn't know what I was doing, literally. Yeah. So I put my first video. If you look at my first video, I think it's how to install Palo Alto on VMware or virtual. I don't remember exactly. And the reason being is because of of us. And then I was going to upload a lot of the stuff that I was studying back then, but I was like, I was using profanity and I was just like talking like I was talking to my friends. I'm like, this effing thing is not working, but look, let's see. Like, it was more like troubleshooting and stuff like that. It wasn't. And then I was like, okay. And then I was creating videos like how to hack stuff, right? For example, I love Wi-Fi hacking. So I was like, okay, but it was all on my own stuff. And literally I just got a strike removed. Like, I'm able to upload again because I had a video that I made recently, like an updated version of how to hack Wi-Fi or how to use these tools. And I guess, I don't know how some videos are able to keep that up and I get striked, but and that's a whole nother ball of wax.
Yep.
But, and I would always say this is a disclaimer, this is for educational purposes. This is to learn the technique. And look, I'm using my router. I'm logged into my stuff. This is not my neighbor. We're not in Starbucks. You know what I mean? But obviously, if you have some bloke on the other side of the screen using this for malicious intent, we cannot prevent that, right? Yeah. So get back on track. So I was like, then I started making little videos, and then I got like 2 strikes in the matter of fucking like a month. I was like, all right, this is not for me. You know what I mean? Forget about this, So my friend's like, no, stick with it, dude. Like, stick with it. Maybe make some Cisco videos, maybe make some Microsoft videos, and just do stuff like out of the hacking world. I'm like, but that's not fucking. My thing is InfoSec Pat, not Windows Pat. Cisco Pat or whatever. Right. So I started making, that's why I had those playlists, Windows Server 2019 playlists and Cisco, and then I was, then I try to like backtrack and try to like get back on the InfoSec stuff. And I'm like, the only thing that's actually staying up is walkthroughs. Okay, let's do Hack the Box or Try Hack Me or VulnHub machines.
Yep.
Because this is like, if you strike me for something that's on Hack the Box, Hack the Box is a learning platform that they're legally saying, come on I'm paying for this, thing, and we're just hacking away and learning. So that's what I ended up doing. And just to take my experience and how I learn and convey that to other folks, because everyone don't learn the same. Like, I think where I was not struggling, but like I would watch videos from other people, none of the names I mentioned before, but and they would start, for an example, if I say, we're going to go through an AD test, right? We're testing AD, and I have Bloodhound open, and I have, I already have the hashes from Responder, and I'm going to crack those with blah, blah, blah. But how did I get all this? All right, how the hell did you get this in the first place? Like, you have it, but how do I get it? So there was that gap. That was that disconnect that people didn't really fulfill.
Yep.
When you had to log into the Neo4j database to get Bloodhound, how did you get to that? How did you get that data that you ingested into Bloodhound from like Sharphound or whatever that we're using to get that data from AD? There was all a disconnect, So I'm like, let me do it. Let me dumb it down. Like I learn. Let me actually go by step instead of just fucking jump into like step 6 to 10. What about step 1 to 5?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's where I was like, okay, maybe I can start making videos simplified, like let's do step 1 to 10 versus 7 to 10 or 6 to 10. So yeah, so that's when I started like really getting the hang of things. I'm like, man, like this is going to be really valuable because this would have helped me a ton, And yeah, so that's pretty much my spiel.
No, that's awesome, because like I said, that was kind of what I wanted to do, or how I started. I did a lot of blog posts, right? So I had my blog site and I wrote the blog stuff, and I'm like, man, it'd be really cool to have a video to go along with it. So now not only can you read it, you can actually see what I'm talking about. So because sometimes you read it and it's like, I still don't get it, to your point. And then same thing with me. I was getting hit on YouTube, and it was like, dude, it's a VulnHub machine whatever. So I actually, and it's funny because you said the disclaimer. I actually have my disclaimer right here that says this video is for informational and educational purposes only. The machines exploited are intentionally vulnerable and available for training purposes. Do not do any hacking or penetration testings on machines without permission. The tools and techniques are used for hacking are illegal in all caps and in red if used without permission, right? So, I try to do that and make sure to cover myself. And then I had a whole campaign lined up 2019. Because what I used to do is I used to do this show, and then actually no, it was even before I started the show. I used to just kind of go live and just talk about certain things or talk about whatever I posted on the blog. So like I used to go over like certain, data breaches and explain how it happened. And then I used to do one like almost like a weekly recap of stuff. And I remember I was in Disney and I had this whole campaign. I was like, I'm going to do a straight like hands-on blitz of everything. And then was it Cody Kinsey? I think they got their channel taken down for a little bit. And I was like, wow, if they can be taken down, then then I don't have a chance. And then I would talk to other YouTubers and they're like, oh yeah, I have a YouTube rep. And I'm like, dude, I have like at that time, I'm like, I have like 100 subscribers. I don't have a rep. So like I don't have someone I can get on the phone and say, hey, yeah, it was a mistake. So I scrapped that whole campaign. Like it was going to go into like, the different types of pen testing, Wi-Fi pen testing. And then same thing for me, I started doing, okay, well, you know what? Let me start from the basics. So how to set up a pen testing. And to date, I think one of the most popular videos I have, and I didn't do any A/B testing with thumbnails or nothing like that, but it's literally, I made a clip of like a 2-hour stream I did on how to set up a VM environment. And it was a 15-minute clip of how to change your SSH keys in Kali Linux. Right. And everybody was like, I never knew this. This is what I was looking for. And I'm like, so I could do a whole video of this other stuff over here. And like I said, I'm worried about the thumbnails and the poses and all of that. And it's literally like the picture, the thumbnail is like a screenshot of like my Kali terminal.
Yeah.
And but it was like that was so that for me is when it clicked, like, okay, yeah, there's that disconnect. A lot of people don't understand, that if you download a Kali VM and you're going to do real pen testing, that image is the same image that everybody else is using if you don't secure it. So if whatever SSH keys were on it when you downloaded it is going to be the same SSH keys over here, and at some point someone's going to get wise and go, I wonder.
Yeah.
So, so change your SSH keys, change your password. So I did a whole video on, okay, you have Kali Linux installed. Great. You ran your updates and your upgrades and all of that. Fantastic. Now let's go ahead. Let's create a new user. So you're not always using root. Let's let's change your SSH keys. And, that's what really got the ball rolling. Then, and the same thing, it was like, okay, look, do this machine in Vuln Hub, do this. And then the Try Hack Me stuff came along. The Admin of Cyber, which I see you have a bunch of videos on there too.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm actually probably I'm thinking about leaning into some of the stuff, but I have so much content that I want to put out, but I'm terrified that if I do it, they're going to put a strike. Like, everybody got stuff with the flipper zeros.
Yeah,
I have one, and I have see, like I have one, and it's like I want to post some of the stuff that I've messed with, but I'm like I'm terrified, right? Kanye West had the stem player. I read the documentation on all of that and saw that it was all API based. So now I started tinkering with that. I'm like, I don't want to do that and get in trouble. So yeah, it's definitely YouTube can be a funny place because there's some videos where I watch, I'm going, how am I worried about the stuff that I'm putting out, and they're literally like, hey, look, I had the videos like literally like how I hacked my neighbor's fridge or whatever. And it's like, wait, what? So yeah, you got to be it's weird.
I still don't understand it. I till this day, like, and that's why I was like, okay, maybe I'm in the clear, because maybe when I was, young and dumb, 2 years ago when I started this YouTube, I didn't know about no tags and no like literally thumbnails. I didn't know what a thumbnail was. Like
Yeah.
the thumbnail in my case was wherever the damn thing fell off, wherever it landed on when it was uploading the video.
Yep.
So, and I'm like, okay, like now I know how to like just like delegate that message. Like, okay, this is strictly for education, or if you want to become a Wi-Fi pen tester, maybe you're studying for the OSWP, for Wi-Fi pen testing. And, these are some techniques and, understanding air dump and, even Wi-Fi or whatever, Wi-Fi pumpkin or whatever like I have Wi-Fi pineapples. I have different things. I'm like, man, like I can do so much fun stuff and like just to shoot the shit. And it's like, man, like, and I think people will enjoy watching these videos. And, but yeah, I still don't get it. And I don't have no rep. I didn't even know you can get a YouTube rep. Like when you say a rep, like they just call YouTube, say, yo, like,
they have a direct line to someone at YouTube where they can say, hey, my video was taken down, and it kind of explain themselves to the rep, and then they go and speak to whoever the powers that be are.
Damn, dude, like I always have to like do like in the channel in the studio, you have a little chat.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much just probably the same person with different names that they copy and fucking paste script. Wait 5 minutes. I'm like, dude, like, and I'm not like, especially like this time, like I'm not like no snitch or no rat or anything, but I'm like, how is this one up? And I would send the link, and I'm like, they're doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Like, and then they're saying, do you want to report them? No, it's not about reporting them. It's like how, like they're saying,
I just want letters. Yeah.
Hack.
Yeah.
It's like my thing doesn't say that. It just says a pretty picture of me with a fucking circle of the password I found. That's my password I just gave out for the world to see.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
I same thing. It was like, oh, I'm like, so I can't do this, but this person can do this and get in more detail and more in depth. And they're like, would you like to report it? No, I just want some damn consistency across the board. Like, no, I don't think they should be taken down either. They're not doing anything wrong. They have a similar disclaimer, but and like I said, I think they're starting to wise up to it now. I mean, over the course of the last few years, I've seen them change some of the verbiage with what they consider to be hacking videos. I mean, it's still a pretty gray area, but I think their overall theme is just the concept of helping people get into the field and stuff like that. So when I know you said you jumped around a little bit, but now that you've kind of I guess found your niche spot, how do you find the right topics? Like, do you do research before you create content, or is it just something that you say, you know what, I think this is something that's interesting and I should start recording?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not the best at that. Literally, like I'll just shoot the stuff on my Discord, like on Discord, I'll be like, hey guys, like what do you enjoy seeing? Like, right now, I just got done creating a whole like mini like sim series on OSSIM, which is open source from AT&T or Alien Vault. And maybe some people, Splunk is way overkill, right? Who the hell wants to deal with Splunk and learning those? Sentinel to understand KQL querying and all that stuff, and maybe you don't have access. So I'm like, what is a good thing for junior analysts to learn? Open source, it's free, so you can install this and get it configured. So I was just like, I would write down ideas like in my head. Remember, I have to make it dummy proof for me. So it's okay. Step 1, let's install it. Step 2, let's install the sensor server. Step 3, okay, like literally how I would set up my own lab is the way I'm teaching it. And right now, like I have a friend, this all goes back to like this communication and networking. My friend's studying for a CCSA, which is Checkpoint Certified Security Administrator. And I never took any Checkpoint certifications. But at the end of the day, a firewall is a firewall. I have Palo Alto certification, I have WatchGuard, SonicWall, Cisco, Florida Gate. So they all, a firewall is a firewall. You're in, you're ingesting data, traffic, you're exiting traffic. You just block it. It's very simple. But I was like, okay, like let's go check out some, Gaia is the OS from Checkpoint. And I'm like, let me just download it, tinker with it for like the weekend, dude. Like, let me see what's up.
Yeah.
And I, excuse me, and I have a whole setup with Gaia, Smart Connect, a security server, a management server. I have Checkpoint infrastructure in my house right now, all virtual. And so that's what, like, now I'm going to make a mini series, maybe 10 to 15 videos on beginners. How can you get Checkpoint up? Or maybe you have a question that instead of calling support, you just Google it real quick. Oh, I need to check, from I VPN in, right? Now, where's the geo IP? We have to see the geolocation. How can we configure that within Checkpoint? So when Pat VPNs in, where's he sitting? Even though you can, anonymize yourself, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. But for your normal Joe Blow, they're going to go from their regular machine, Starbucks or whatever, and we're going to see where they're coming in from.
Right.
So that's pretty much where, and then like the lives, I came up with, like this, like do one-on-ones with folks in the field just to learn more about them, because I see, them roaming around the internet. So I'm like, oh, let's hit them up. Let's get to know them a little more than just a couple posts here and there. And then live, hack the box, try hack me machines, and just watch me struggle. Let's go walk through a box for an hour and see how I do. Because behind the scenes, we can Google stuff. We can prep for a video, right? When I go live,
that's a different world.
It's a different thing. I get nervous. It's like fucking get a panic attack. Oh shit! Like, did I run the right command? Are these people gonna be like, damn, this kid really, does he know what he's doing? And all these things come to me, But at the end of the day, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, it's only you versus you. You know.
No,
and that's a whole nother thing. Like, it's talking about this content creation. And if you want to become, someone out there wants to become a content creator, don't compare to myself. Don't compare to D. Don't compare yourself to Network Chuck or John Hammett or whoever these other big people are that has millions of views. Because then you're going to be like, damn, son, I'm never going to get anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have your niche of audience. They have their niche. Like, sometimes I love John to death. He's a fucking awesome kid. I watch his videos. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. That's the God honest truth. I'm like, this is going into stuff that is on a different planet, And I don't get it. Like, I watch it, because just to support the kid. But I don't get any information out of it because this guy's writing Chinese. You know what I mean? So, but like, there's other people that I can relate more to, for like more of the real pen testing. And so yeah, everyone has their audience. Everyone has their niche. So if you're out there wanting to create content, don't be scared. You know what I mean? And you have so many people that you can reach out to about equipment. There's Discord channels. There's everyone. And, I'm another resource if you want. I'm not the best. I have my little ghetto rigged gig, and it does the job. You know what I mean?
But that's the name of the game, right? Right. And but to your point, that I agree 100%. When I tell people about creating content, it's like, look, don't worry about the numbers, right? Don't worry about the numbers. I've been doing this for how many years now? I still cringe every time I watch a replay or I hear my voice. But you get used to it. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about, comparing yourself to others, because if once you do that, you lose focus on the reason why you got started in the first place. And if the reason why you got started was to only for clout or whatever the case may be, then you're going to have a long struggle uphill because, like I said, as much as everybody's doing YouTube, unless you're, and I'm not counting anybody's pockets, but unless you have like, over 1 million subs, like a Network Chuck or somebody like that, YouTube ain't paying nobody's bills. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not getting my mortgage paid by YouTube. I might be able to, scrounge up a cup of coffee, and that's after Google takes their half
exactly
of whatever you make.
Exactly. And I always make a joke, you know what I mean? Like, YouTube pays my internet bill. That's all it does. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not out here trying to make millions off YouTube. Like, it's not about that. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to do you, you know, a goal of mine, because it is a lot of work. You know what I mean? Like, even to do this live, you have to have this application. You have to, you know, it took work. You know what I mean? Just to even stage your office.
Yep.
You know, like let's keep it real, right? So it's like, outside of that, you know, like we're, at least for me, all I want to do is just give back whatever the little knowledge that I have, or you know, maybe it's a lot of knowledge compared to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I wish I had this, and I
Yeah.
did have it. You know, I had CBT nuggets. That was something that I relayed to, and you know, I probably said this guy's name a million times. Keith Barker was like my mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, you know, this is what I want to do. And I would watch his videos on YouTube or his CBT Nugget videos. And, you know, one thing, and he actually gave me this advice because I was shitting my pants every time I hit record. I would stutter. I wouldn't know how to get the words out. And one, I don't know if I'm going to say this because maybe someone else has this. Talk to yourself in the mirror before, prep yourself. And that's, I don't do that anymore. But in the beginning, I would say, okay, thanks again for, oh shit, where did I, oh man. All right. Hey guys, welcome back. What is it? Welcome back to another video. What, like, man, I didn't, and then all of a sudden, then I found the rhythm. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. You know, today we're going to be talking about XYZ, and it just flows. You know what I mean? So don't get discouraged if you start, you know, tripping up, you know, in the beginning, because I still trip up. I sometimes have to hit record 3 times still today, you know?
I make light of it. You know what I'm saying? I make fun of it. Even in the beginning, I'm like, okay, I stumbled on my words, but whatever, we're gonna clap it up anyway, right?
Yeah.
And for me, what I do is typically like maybe 20-30 minutes before I go on the air or go live, I'm posting on social media. So I'm recording, and even though it's a 15-second clip, it probably took me 4 or 5 times, because I'm like, all right guys, this week I'm talking to shit, you know, and I have to kind of do it all over again. But that's like my warm-up. But one thing that I do like from creating content, and I was talking to John Hammond when he was on the show a few weeks ago, was a concept of learning while you go. So even though you're creating content, one of the things they tell you is the best way to understand it is to try to teach it. So when you're creating content, essentially you're teaching it. And I feel like when I do the technical stuff, like, don't get me wrong, I love this. I love connecting with the people. That's why I even go through the struggle of doing it live as opposed to pre-recording and editing. I do it here. Everybody can reach out. You can see what's going on in the comments. By the way, love y'all chat. Love the pack. You know, thank you for the, you know, the continued support. But you know, that's the whole purpose of doing it live, is so that we can, you know, have that interaction. And even though we're all virtually, it's almost like a reach out and touch type scenario. But when you create that content, that educational content, that technical content, I feel like it improves you, not just as a content creator, but just in the overall in your career. So, you know, you could talk to that if you want as well, because I feel like ever since I've been doing the tech content or the pen testing content, I have become a way better pen tester, you know, than as opposed to when I was just kind of in my own little bubble.
No, absolutely. And that's so true. And that's another thing. Like, I took that advice again from Keith, because he's a trainer, and he's like, if you can teach it, that means you really know it. And even like when people are studying like CCNA, back, you know, when I was studying for CCNA, it's like, okay, the OSI model. Okay. Hey, my daughter. Hey, you at that time, she was like 1 year old. Hey, this is this. And she doesn't even understand what I'm saying, but I would just talk to her about this topic, or I would just talk to someone else that really knows it and say, okay, I'm going to try to teach this to you, you know, see if you understand what I'm saying, or if I'm off topic, or if I'm, you know, in left field somewhere, bring me back, you know, to center. So absolutely, I think teaching it really, you know, hones in that you really know it. And that's definitely, that's facts right there.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. You know, I just, because if you have any pride in your work, the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure, okay, all my I's are dotted and all my T's are crossed, right? And again, doing it on a platform like this, you know, we do occasionally run into them trolls or those people, you know, those tryhards who will call it out if you are slipping. So me, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make sure. And to your point, I do the same thing. I gauge it by how glazed over my kids or my wife's eyes are when I'm talking. Right. So if I can explain it and they can follow, then I'm like, all right, cool. Right. And then there are times where I'll talk to them and they'll be like, I'm like, okay, I lost you, right?
And it's funny that you say that just like a second ago with the trolls or whatever. Like I call them internet gangsters, right? Because like, and I had that a few times, like especially when I first started, and I still have that little snappy, NYC stuff. Like I'm like, yo, son, like stop trapping on the internet, son. Like I'm over here, come. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like don't do that internet stuff. Like I'm not about that life. Like if you think you're a G, like roll up then. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
pull up. Yep.
yeah, because you have all these people on the internet, and like again, I don't come from that troll fucking like gamer. My thing is, I've never been into that. I don't think I'll ever be into that. Yeah,
No, like I said, it's an interesting world, man. It's an interesting world because again, I come from an era where that wasn't
yeah.
that wasn't allowed. So all right, so we're about to wrap up. So final question, what is your why?
What is my why? That's a good one. I guess to give back, to be someone else's. How do I say that? Like to be to someone else that I didn't have. If that makes sense. Like I didn't have this person in my life, for example, like this mentor or whatever. I want to be able to do that for someone else. This is why I exist, right? It's not only about cybersecurity. It's not only about IT. Like I help people bowl. I'm a bowler. Like I'm always the one that's giving my hand out to help someone else. So that's why I think why I'm here in this planet.
Not hey, that's good. That's good enough for me, man. We deal with a lot of times where we don't there are a lot of things that people could help with and don't, right? And that was a big thing for me when I first came in. I tried to reach out and find help and find mentorship and stuff like that. And no one really kind of reached back out. So now it's kind of like, being that change that you want to see in the world. So that's what this is for. That's what the blog is for, the videos. Again, this isn't paying the bills, but it's definitely getting some people, getting them that help or helping them get past that hurdle that they had, or understanding it in a way that they can only they can understand. So no, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. But so before we go ahead, tell the people how to find you.
Yeah, it's pretty much InfoSec Pat at everything. Instagram, it's InfoSec Pat. Twitter, InfoSec Pat. Here on YouTube, it's InfoSec Pat. I think that's, and then I have a Discord. You could probably find a link in one of my latest videos. If you go to watch my videos, on the latest one, you'll see the link to join my Discord. Again, I'm not a Discord expert. I have a few people that help me out in my Discord that knows a lot better than I do. So if you ever watch this, Owned or whoever else has helped me out, like KevTech is another one. Kudos to you guys. Thank you so much for all you do. But yeah, that's pretty much across the board. LinkedIn is Patrick Gorman. Or I think it's InfoSec Pat too, my URL, I think. Yeah. I don't even know.
I think it is.
Yeah.
But all right. But again, Pat, thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing your experiences here. And again, thank you for sharing your why. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been my guest, Patrick Gorman, aka InfoSec Pat. Go check him out. Go check out his YouTube channel. He has a bunch of helpful videos from Windows to setting up stuff with Kali Linux. There's some Wi-Fi stuff there. So definitely go check him out and give him a like and subscribe over there too.
Appreciate it.
This has been another episode of InfoSec Unplugged. I have been your host, Davin Jackson. Make sure you tune in next week. And again, if you want to support, just like the video, comment in the section below, subscribe to the channel. You can also do the super chat and the super thanks, and also buy me a coffee. Like I said, I've been busting my behind, you know, between the show and working full time and building out this tech center. So go ahead, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/djax and, you know, just yeah, because I definitely need it. Or either that, I need that, and then I need sleep once this is all over. But make sure you tune in, everybody. Next week, I will have another guest on, and we will be back here live. So I will see y'all then. Take care.